The space station smelled like oil and fear. Jiho walked through the crowded market, his hands in his pockets, eyes scanning every face. He had been searching for 6 months now, 6 long months since his sister Hana disappeared from the colony on Ridge World. The Valos Prime Station floated at the edge of known space, far from any law or justice. Here, people bought and sold anything. Weapons, drugs, stolen goods, and worst of all, living beings. Jiho hated this place, but he had followed every lead, every whisper, and they all pointed here. He pushed through a crowd of aliens. Some had 4 arms, others had scales or fur. A few were human, but they looked away when he made eye contact. Nobody wanted trouble here. Nobody wanted to be noticed. The auction house stood at the center of the market. It was a large dome made of dark metal. Lights flashed above the entrance advertising today's sale. Jiho's stomach turned when he read the words, "Premium Collection, Exotic Females, Final Day." He was too late. The thought hit him like a punch to the gut. He had traveled across 3 star systems, spent every credit he had, and he was still too late. But he had to check. He had to know. Inside, the auction house was packed. Buyers sat in rows of seats, their eyes fixed on a stage at the front. A creature that looked like a giant slug stood at a podium. Its skin was gray and wet, and it spoke through a translator device. Lot 47 sold to the bidder from Kepler Station, the slug announced. The crowd clapped. On the stage, guards led away a female alien with blue skin and silver hair. She looked terrified. Jiho felt sick. He grabbed the arm of a small alien standing nearby. "The Lyran females," he said. "Are they gone? All of them?" The alien jerked away from him. "What's it to you, human?" "Just tell me." The alien laughed, a nasty sound. "You're late." They went for top price. Collectors from all over the galaxy wanted them. Beautiful creatures, they say. Strong, too. All sold an hour ago. Jiho's world spun. He stumbled to a seat and sat down hard. All gone. Every lead, every hope, it all ended here. Hana might have been one of them. Or maybe she was somewhere else, somewhere even worse. "We do have one more item." The slug's voice boomed through the speakers. "A special case." Lot 48. Jiho barely listened. He put his head in his hands. "This Lyran female is defective," the slug continued. "She has killed 3 handlers and injured 12 more. We have kept her in maximum security. She is wild, untamable, and dangerous. Tomorrow she will be executed. But tonight, if anyone is foolish enough, you can buy her for a reduced price." The crowd laughed. Who would want a killer? Who would risk bringing that kind of danger onto their ship? But Jiho lifted his head. A Lyran female, still here. If she was Lyran, she would know about the others. She would know where they were taken, where the slavers got them from. Maybe, just maybe, she would know something about Hana. He stood up and walked to the front. Every step felt heavy, but he kept moving. "I'll buy her," he called out. The auction house went quiet. All eyes turned to him. The slug creature tilted its massive head, studying him with tiny black eyes. "You are human," it said, as if that explained everything. "I am. And I'll buy her. Name your price." The slug made a gurgling sound that might have been laughter. "The price is 20,000 credits. Plus you must sign a waiver. When she kills you, the station holds no responsibility." 20,000. That was everything Jiho had left. His ship, his weapons, his supplies, all of it converted to credits. It would leave him with nothing. But what choice did he have? "I'll pay it," he said. "And I'll sign your waiver." The slug's eyes gleamed with greed. "Excellent. You humans are always so entertaining. The Lyran is in cell block 7, level 9. That's the lowest level of the station. Maximum security. You'll need to take her from there yourself. We won't deliver her. Too dangerous." "Fine." The transaction took 10 minutes. Jiho transferred every credit he owned. The slug gave him a data chip and a control device. "This chip has her cell information. The control device will release her restraints. After that, she's your problem." Jiho took both and headed for the exit. Behind him, he heard the crowd laughing and making bets on how long he would survive. The elevator ride down was long. The station seemed to go deeper and deeper into space. By the time Jiho reached level 9, the walls were bare metal and the lights flickered. This was where they kept the truly dangerous prisoners. Cell block 7 was at the end of a long hallway. Armed guards stood outside. They looked at Jiho like he was crazy when he showed them his papers. "You're taking the wild one?" one guard asked. He was a reptilian alien with yellow eyes. "That's right. Good luck, human. You'll need it." The guards led him through 3 security doors. Each one was thicker than the last. Finally, they reached the cell. Through a small window, Jiho saw her. She was tall, taller than him by at least a foot. Her skin had a pale, almost white color, but patterns of light moved across it like living tattoos. They glowed blue and green, pulsing with what looked like anger. Her hair was long and dark, wild and tangled. She wore torn clothes that might have once been a uniform. But it was her eyes that stopped him. They were bright yellow like a predator's eyes, and they stared right at him with pure hatred. "She doesn't speak standard," a guard said. "Nobody knows what language the Lyran use. She just screams and fights." Jiho had studied languages his whole life. It was a hobby that became useful when he started searching for his sister. He had found old files about the Lyran species in a database 2 months ago. They were listed as a rare, peaceful species from an unknown world, but the slavers had found them somehow. He had learned a few words of their language. Just a few. He hoped it would be enough. He pressed the speaker button on the cell wall. "I am not your master," he said in broken Lyran. The words felt clumsy in his mouth. "I am not your enemy. I need your help." Inside the cell, the woman's eyes went wide. For just a moment, the hatred flickered into surprise. Then the guards opened the door and all hell broke loose. The restraints fell away from Kira's wrists and ankles with a click. For the first time in weeks, she was free to move. The neural suppressors that had kept her weak and dizzy shut off. Power flooded back into her body. She moved like lightning. The guards barely had time to shout before she was on them. Her fist connected with the first one's face, and he went down hard. The second guard raised his weapon, but Kira was already spinning, her legs sweeping his feet out from under him. He crashed into the wall. Jiho jumped back, his hands raised. "Wait, I'm trying to help you." Kira didn't listen. She had heard those words before in different languages from different captors. They all lied. All of them. She charged at the human, ready to tear him apart like she had done to the others. But he didn't attack back. That was the first strange thing. He dodged her punches and kicks, moving out of the way, but he never struck her. His hands stayed open, defensive. "I'm not your enemy," he shouted again in her language. His accent was terrible, his words simple, but it was Lyran. A human speaking Lyran. How was that possible? Kira didn't care. She grabbed him by the throat and slammed him against the wall. Her glowing patterns flared bright red with rage. She could crush his windpipe right now. End him. One less slaver in the universe, but he didn't fight. He just looked at her with brown eyes that held no fear. "Only sadness, my sister," he said in broken Lyran. "Taken like you. I search for her. I need your help." Kira's grip loosened slightly. "Sister?" She thought of Neva, her own sister, dragged away screaming when the slavers attacked their home. She hadn't seen Neva since that day. Didn't know if she was alive or dead. "Lies," she hissed in her own language. "All humans lie." "I know where the others were taken," Jiho continued, switching to standard since she clearly understood it. "The other Lyran females. I can find them, but I need to know where they came from. I need to know about the slavers, please." More guards were running down the hallway now. Alarms blared through the station. Kira had maybe 30 seconds before they arrived with heavy weapons. She had a choice to make. She could kill this human and try to fight her way out. She would probably die, but at least she would die free fighting. Or she could trust him. Trust his words about finding the others. Trust that maybe, just maybe, he was telling the truth. Kira released him and stepped back. "You have a ship?" Jiho rubbed his throat and nodded. "Yes, not a big one, but it's fast. Then we run." Now they ran. Jiho led the way through corridors that twisted and turned. Kira stayed close behind him, ready to fight anyone who got in their way. Guards appeared around a corner and she took them down with brutal efficiency. Her people were peaceful once, but the slavers had taught her how to fight. They had created this monster. Jiho's ship was docked in Bay 12. It was small, like he said, with scarred metal and old weapons mounted on the wings. The name Teguk's Hope was painted on the side in faded letters. They made it inside just as station security arrived. Laser blasts hit the ship's hull as Jiho fired up the engines. Kira strapped herself into the co-pilot seat, her heart pounding. "Hold on," Jiho said. He didn't sound scared. He sounded focused. The ship launched from the bay like a bullet. Station defenses fired at them. But Jiho flew the ship in ways that seemed impossible. He twisted and turned, diving under support beams and cutting through narrow spaces. Kira's people had ships once, but she had never seen anyone fly like this. "You're insane," she said. "I get that a lot. They broke free of the station and jumped into faster-than-light travel. The stars stretched into lines, and then they were safe, moving through the empty dark between systems. Kira finally allowed herself to breathe. She looked down at her hands. They were shaking. Free. She was actually free. There's a medical bay in the back, Jiho said quietly. Food and water, too. Take whatever you need. Kira studied him. He was smaller than her, built lighter like most humans. His black hair was messy, and he had dark circles under his eyes. He looked tired, like he hadn't slept in days. Maybe weeks. Why did you buy me? She asked. I told you. I'm looking for my sister. The slavers took her from our colony 6 months ago. I've been tracking them ever since. When I heard there were Lyran females at Valos Prime, I thought maybe I could find information, but I was too late. You were the only one left, so I'm just a tool to you. A way to find information. Jiho shook his head. No. I bought you because no living being should be in a cage. I bought you because I couldn't leave you there to be executed. And yes, I hope you can help me find my sister. But even if you can't, I won't put you back in chains. That's not who I am. Kira wanted to believe him, but trust was hard. Trust had been beaten out of her over weeks of captivity and torture. The others, she said, the Lyran females who were sold. Where did they go? Different places. Private collectors, mostly. Rich people from across the galaxy who wanted something exotic and rare. Rage filled Kira again. Her people weren't things to be collected. They were living beings with families and homes and dreams. And my world? Did you find information about where the slavers found us? Jiho pulled up data on his console. There were rumors. A hidden world called Lyra 7. The slavers found it somehow and attacked. They took most of the population in one raid. That was 3 months ago. 3 months. Kira's home had been gone for 3 months and she didn't even know. She had been in that cell in the dark while her entire world burned. I'm sorry, Jiho said softly. Sorry doesn't help. No. But action does. I'm going after the slavers, the ones who run this whole operation. They have a main base somewhere in the Crimson Nebula. That's where they process the people they capture before selling them. If your sister was taken, she might be there. If other Lyran are there, we can free them. You're one human with a small ship. They'll have hundreds of guards, weapons, defenses, I know. You'll die. Jiho smiled, but it was a sad smile. Maybe, but I have to try. I can't leave my sister there, and I can't let them keep doing this to others. Kira stood up and walked to the back of the ship. The medical bay was small but clean. She found water and drank it all, then found more. She was so thirsty, so hungry. When was the last time she ate real food? She looked at herself in a small mirror. Her bioluminescent patterns had faded to a dull blue. When her people were healthy and happy, they glowed bright. When they were sick or sad, the light died. She looked half dead, but she was alive. Against all odds, she was alive and free. She thought about this human. This Jiho. He could have left her to die. He could have questioned her and then abandoned her. But he offered her food and rest. He spoke to her like a person, not property. Maybe, just maybe, he was different. Kira returned to the cockpit. The Crimson Nebula, she said. I know that place. Some of the guards talked about it when they thought I couldn't understand them. It's where they took all the Lyran. It's a processing station. They do things to people there. Bad things. They break their minds and make them obedient. Jiho's hands tightened on the controls. My sister. They might have already done that to her. Maybe. Or maybe we can stop it. We. Kira sat down in the co-pilot seat again. You want to fight slavers. I want revenge. And I want to find my sister too. Her name is Neva. We work together until both our sisters are found. Then we see what happens. Jiho looked at her and for the first time he smiled for real. Deal. They shook hands, human and Lyran, strangers bound by loss and hope. Outside the ship the stars rushed past. And ahead, somewhere in the dark, the Crimson Nebula waited. 3 days passed aboard the Teguk's Hope. 3 days of uneasy silence and careful distance. Kira stayed in the back of the ship most of the time, sleeping in short bursts, always ready to fight. Jiho gave her space, focusing on plotting their course to the Crimson Nebula. On the 4th day, Kira finally spoke more than a few words. Tell me about your sister, she said. She stood in the doorway of the cockpit, arms crossed. Jiho looked up from his navigation console. Hana, she's 22, 3 years younger than me. Smart, much smarter than I ever was. She loved studying plants and wanted to make the colony's farms better. She had this garden and she could grow anything. He smiled at the memory. She was always happy, always laughing. The colony. Tell me about the attack. Jiho's smile faded. It happened at night. We had no warning. Ships came down from orbit fast and quiet. They had stun weapons. They took 30 people total, mostly young women and men. I was off-world delivering supplies to another settlement. By the time I got back, they were gone. And you've been searching since then. Every day. Every credit I earned went to buying information, bribing sources, following leads. I tracked the slavers across 6 systems before finding Valus Prime. Kira walked into the cockpit and sat down. My world was different. We didn't expect attacks because nobody knew we existed. Lyra 7 is hidden far from trade routes. We lived in peace for generations. Then one day, ships appeared in our sky. We had no weapons, no defenses. We were farmers and artists and builders. We never hurt anyone. How many were taken? Almost everyone. Maybe 2,000 people. They left the elderly and the children who were too young. Just took everyone else. My sister and I tried to fight. We had tools, farming equipment. It didn't matter. They had technology we couldn't match. Jiho listened quietly. He could hear the pain in her voice, see it in the way her bioluminescent patterns flickered. I'm sorry that happened to your people, he said. Sorry doesn't bring them back. No, but finding them might. Before Kira could respond, alarm screamed through the ship. Jiho's hands flew across the controls. We've got company. 3 ships coming in fast. Kira moved to the weapons console without being asked. She had been watching Jiho work for days, learning the systems. Slavers? Probably. They must have put a tracker on us at Valus Prime. Jiho cursed himself for not checking more carefully. They want you back. They can try. The 3 ships appeared on their scanners. They were Hunter-class vessels, fast and armed with heavy weapons. The lead ship opened a communication channel. Human vessel, power down your engines. Return our property and we'll let you live. Jiho cut the channel. Property. That's what they think you are. What they think doesn't matter. Can we outrun them? No, they're faster. We have to fight. Kira's patterns flared bright red. Good. The first ship opened fire. Laser blasts lit up the dark of space. Jiho threw the ship into a hard turn that would have crushed most pilots under the force. But humans could handle more pressure than many species realized. Their bodies were built for a heavy gravity world, strong and resilient. He dove under the incoming fire and returned shots. The Teguk's Hope wasn't a warship, but Jiho had modified it over the years. The weapons hit the hunter ship's shields, draining them. 2 more coming from the sides, Kira called out. She had the tactical display pulled up, tracking all 3 enemies. I see them. What happened next was something Kira had never witnessed before. Jiho didn't fly like other pilots she had seen. There was no careful calculation, no computer-assisted targeting. He flew by instinct, by feel. He twisted the ship through impossible angles, cutting power and reigniting it at just the right moments. He used the debris field they were passing through as cover, threading between asteroids too fast for safe travel. The hunter ships followed, but they couldn't match his unpredictability. When they expected him to run, he charged. When they thought he would fight, he vanished behind cover. It was chaos and Jiho thrived in it. Human instinct, Kira muttered, finally understanding what made them dangerous. You don't think. You just act. Thinking takes too long, Jiho said. He pulled the ship into a spin that brought them behind one of the hunters. Fire now! Kira slammed her hand down on the weapons control. Their guns tore through the hunter's weakened shields and ripped into its engine core. The ship exploded in a ball of fire. 1 down, Jiho said. 2 to go, but the other ships were adapting. They spread out, trying to catch the Teguk's Hope in a crossfire. Jiho saw the trap forming and made a split-second decision. Instead of running, he flew straight at the nearest hunter. You're going to ram them? Kira asked, her voice steady despite the danger. No. Trust me. He kept flying straight at the hunter ship. The distance closed rapidly. 1,000 meters. 500. 200. The hunter's pilot must have thought Jiho was insane because they didn't move, confident the human would break off at the last second. Jiho didn't break off. At 50 meters, he cut all power and let momentum carry them forward while he rolled the ship 90 degrees. They slipped past the hunter's hull with barely a meter of clearance. Behind them, the 3rd hunter ship, which had been firing at their previous position, hit its ally instead. The second ship's shields collapsed under friendly fire. Jiho reignited the engines and swung around. "Kira, finish it." She fired, and the damaged hunter ship broke apart. 2 down. The last hunter tried to run. Its pilot had seen enough. But Jiho was faster. He chased them through the asteroid field, matching every turn, every desperate maneuver. Finally, he got a clean shot and took out their engines. The hunter ship drifted, powerless. Jiho opened a communication channel. "Tell your masters that Kira is not property. Tell them that anyone who comes after her will end up like your friends. And tell them that I'm coming for everyone they've taken. Every single one." He cut the channel and destroyed the hunter's communication array so they couldn't send a warning. Then he left them drifting in space. Someone would find them eventually. Kira stared at him with new eyes. "You're better than I thought, human. Jiho. My name is Jiho." "Jiho," she repeated. "You fight well. Most species rely on computers and calculations. You rely on yourself. It's how we survived on Earth. Our world was harsh. Predators everywhere. We learned to trust our instincts because thinking too much got you killed. That's just what humans do." Kira nodded slowly. She was starting to understand why the galaxy feared humans, even though they were relatively new to space. It wasn't their technology or their numbers. It was their nature. They were survivors who refused to quit. "The Crimson Nebula," she said. "It's still 2 days away. They'll know we're coming now. Let them know. I'm done hiding." Over the next 2 days, something changed between them. Kira began to teach Jiho about Lyran culture and language. He learned that her people valued harmony and creativity above all else. They built beautiful cities and made art that could make you cry. They sang songs that told stories of their ancestors. "We weren't warriors," Kira said, "but they made me into one. Every day in that cell I promised myself I would make them pay." "Revenge is a powerful motivator," Jiho said. "What motivates you? Your sister?" "Hana, yes, but also justice. The idea that people can just take others and sell them like objects makes me sick. On Earth, we went through dark times when humans did that to each other. We learned how wrong it was. I won't let it happen to others if I can stop it." Kira looked at this small human with his tired eyes and determined spirit. He had nothing to gain from helping her people. He could have just questioned her and moved on. But he promised to free the Lyran, all of them, not because it benefited him, but because it was right. "When this is over," she said quietly, "if we survive, I will help you rebuild whatever you've lost. That's a promise. We'll rebuild together." On the morning of the 7th day, the Crimson Nebula appeared on their scanners. It was massive, a cloud of red gas and radiation that made sensors nearly useless. Perfect for hiding a criminal operation. Jiho pulled up the data he had gathered. "The station is in the center, protected by the nebula's interference. We'll have to fly in blind for the last stretch. How do we get inside?" "I've got forged credentials." "We're going in as a client and merchandise." Kira's patterns flared with anger. "I am not merchandise, I know. But it's the only way in. You wear a control collar, I play the buyer. Once we're inside, we find where they're keeping everyone and we burn that place to the ground. They'll scan the collar. They'll know it's fake. Then we'll improvise. Humans are good at that too." Kira was silent for a long moment. Then she nodded. "I trust you, Jiho. Don't make me regret it." They flew into the red clouds of the nebula, and the station appeared ahead like a massive metal spider waiting in its web. This was the heart of the slaving operation. This was where Kira's people were being held, where Jiho's sister was being tortured. The hunt had led them here to the most dangerous place in the galaxy, and they were going in together. The Crimson Nebula station was larger than any structure Jiho had ever seen. It spread out like a dark city in space with towers and docking bays and massive processing centers, all connected by tubes and bridges. Red light from the nebula made everything look like it was covered in blood. Kira sat in the passenger seat, a control collar around her neck. It wasn't real, just a prop Jiho had made from spare parts. It looked authentic enough to fool a casual inspection, but if anyone tested it, they would know immediately. Her hands were clenched in her lap. Every instinct screamed at her to rip the collar off and fight. But she stayed still, trusting Jiho. "Remember," Jiho said quietly as they approached the docking bay, "you're supposed to be broken, obedient. Don't look anyone in the eye. Don't speak unless I give you permission. I know it's hard, but we have to sell this." Kira's patterns dimmed to almost nothing, making her skin look pale and lifeless. "I understand. A voice came through their communications. Approaching vessel, state your business. Jiho put on his best merchant voice, smooth and confident. I'm here to view merchandise. I received an invitation to the private auction. Name and credentials. Dealer Taman. Authorization code 773 Blue 9. The code was fake, bought from a black market contact for the last of Jiho's savings. There was a long pause. Jiho held his breath. If this didn't work, they would be dead in seconds. Authorization confirmed. Proceed to Bay 16. Welcome to Crimson Nebula Station, Dealer Taman. Jiho let out a slow breath. They were in. The docking bay was clean and organized, nothing like the chaos of Valos Prime. This was a professional operation, run by serious criminals who had money and power. Guards stood at every entrance armed with weapons that could vaporize a person in seconds. Jiho landed the ship and lowered the ramp. He stepped out first, dressed in expensive clothes he had bought years ago for undercover work. He looked like a rich trader, someone with credits to spend and no morals to speak of. Kira followed behind him, her eyes down, her steps slow and measured. It took all her strength to play the role of a broken slave. Inside, her rage burned like a star. A tall alien in a black uniform approached them. He had 6 arms and a face like a beetle. Dealer Taman, welcome. I am Overseer Vornis. I will be your guide during your visit. Jiho shook one of his many hands. Thank you. I've heard excellent things about your operation. We pride ourselves on quality and discretion. I see you brought your own merchandise. Vornis looked at Kira with interest. A Lyran, how did you acquire one? We thought we had them all. Private purchase from Valos Prime, she was the last one. Interesting. And you wish to sell her? Actually, I'm interested in acquiring more like her. I have clients who pay premium prices for exotic species. If your stock is as impressive as I've heard, perhaps we can discuss a bulk purchase. Greed flashed in Vornis's eyes. Of course. Let me show you our conditioning center. That's where we prepare all merchandise for sale. They walked through the station's corridors. Everything was sterile and cold like a medical facility. But Jiho could smell the fear underneath the clean air. This was a place of suffering. They passed by holding cells. Through small windows, Jiho saw beings from dozens of species, all sitting quietly, staring at nothing. Their eyes were empty. Whatever had been done to them had taken away their will to fight. Kira saw them too and felt sick. Would she have ended up like this if Jiho hadn't found her? Vornis led them to a large room filled with equipment. This is our conditioning center. We use neural programming to make our products obedient and compliant. The process takes about 3 days per subject. After that, they follow commands perfectly and cause no trouble for their new owners. Efficient, Jiho said, though the word tasted like poison. How many can you process at once? Currently, we have capacity for 200 subjects. We're expanding soon to handle 500. And your current stock? How many Lyran do you have? Vornis pulled up a data pad. We have 173 Lyran females remaining. The first batch was sold, as you know. These are scheduled for a special buyer who requested the entire species. The transaction completes in 48 hours. Jiho's blood ran cold. 48 hours. They had less than 2 days to stop this. Impressive, he managed to say. Could I see them? I want to verify the quality. Of course, but they're in stasis until processing. The buyer wanted them unmodified in their natural state. I see. And do you have humans in your stock? Vornis smiled, showing sharp teeth. We have several dozen. Humans are popular these days. Strong workers and attractive enough for personal collections. Would you like to see them? Yes. They walked to another section of the station. Here the cells were smaller, more cramped. Vornis pulled up a display showing human prisoners. Jiho scanned each face, his heart pounding, and then he saw her. Hana, his little sister. She was thinner than he remembered, her hair cut short, her eyes hollow. She stared at nothing, sitting on the floor of her cell with her knees pulled to her chest. She didn't look up when they approached. That one, Jiho said, pointing at the screen. He fought to keep his voice steady. Has she been processed? Yes, completed yesterday. She's ready for sale. Excellent choice. Human females are very popular. Rage filled Jiho like fire. They had broken her. They had taken his bright, laughing sister and turned her into this empty shell. He wanted to kill Vornis right here, right now. But he couldn't, not yet. I'll take her, he said. Name your price. 40,000 credits. It was money Jiho didn't have. He had spent everything to get here. But he nodded. Done. I'll transfer the funds after I inspect the rest of your stock. Vornis seemed pleased. Excellent. Is there anything else you'd like to see? Yes, the Lyran holding area. I want to verify they're all healthy before my clients commit to a purchase. As you wish. They took an elevator down several levels. The deeper they went, the colder it became. Finally, they reached a massive chamber. Inside, rows and rows of stasis pods lined the walls. Each pod held a Lyran female suspended in clear fluid, unconscious. Kira's breath caught in her throat. Her people. All of them here, trapped like insects in amber. She searched the faces desperately, looking for one in particular. And then she found her, Neva, her sister, in the third row, fifth pod from the left. She was alive. Unconscious but alive. Kira's patterns started to glow brighter with emotion. She quickly dimmed them again, hoping no one noticed. As you can see, Vornis said, they're in perfect condition. The buyer is paying an enormous sum for them, enough to fund our operations for years. Who is this buyer? Jiho asked. I cannot disclose that information. Client confidentiality, you understand. Jiho nodded. It didn't matter who the buyer was. They wouldn't get the chance to complete the purchase. I've seen enough, Jiho said. Let's discuss terms in your office. They returned to the upper levels. Vornis led them to a lavish office overlooking the station's interior. He offered Jiho a drink, which Jiho pretended to sip. Before we finalize anything, Vornis said, I need to verify your credentials more thoroughly. Standard procedure for large transactions. Jiho's mind raced. The forged credentials wouldn't hold up under deep inspection. He needed a distraction, something to buy them time. Of course, he said, but first I'd like to test my Lyran here. Make sure her conditioning is holding. He gestured to Kira. I told you we need to scan her collar first. No need. I have my own testing methods. Before Vornis could protest, Jiho turned to Kira and spoke in Lyran. Now. Kira's patterns blazed bright red. She ripped the fake collar off her neck and threw it at Vornis. It hit him in the face and he stumbled back in shock. What is the meaning of this? He shouted. Jiho pulled out a small device from his pocket and activated it. It was a signal jammer, something he had built during the trip here. Every communication system in the office died instantly. The meaning, Jiho said, is that you're done hurting people. Kira moved faster than Vornis could react. She grabbed two of his arms and twisted them behind his back. He screamed in pain. Where are the controls for the stasis pods? Jiho demanded. I won't tell you anything. Kira twisted harder. Answer him. Security will kill you. You can't escape. We're not trying to escape, Jiho said. We're here to free everyone. The controls now. Vornis laughed, a nasty sound. Even if you free them, they're weak from stasis. They can't fight, and this station has 500 armed guards. You're one human and one Lyran. You're already dead. Jiho smiled, and it wasn't a friendly smile. You're right. We are just one human and one Lyran. But humans have a saying. The only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good people to do nothing. Well, I'm done doing nothing. He turned to Kira. Can you handle him? Easily. Good, I'm going to the control room. I'm going to wake up every single person in this station, and then we're going to see what 500 guards can do against 200 very angry prisoners. Kira's smile was fierce. I'll find the weapons storage. Make sure our people have something to fight with. Wait, Vornis said, fear creeping into his voice. You don't understand. If you wake them all at once, the system will overload. The stasis pods could malfunction. People could die. Then I suggest you tell me how to do it properly, Jiho said. Because one way or another, I'm freeing them. You can help and maybe live or refuse and definitely die. Vornis looked into Jiho's eyes and saw something that terrified him. This was an alarm screamed through the Crimson Nebula station. Red warning lights flashed in every corridor. Somewhere, Vornis had managed to trigger an alert before Kira knocked him unconscious. Now the entire station knew something was wrong. Jiho ran through the hallways, his stolen datapad showing him the way to the control room. Guards appeared around a corner, weapons raised. Jiho dove behind a support column as laser fire tore through the air where he had been standing. He was outnumbered and outgunned. Any smart person would surrender. But Jiho had stopped being smart the moment they took his sister. He pulled a small device from his belt and threw it down the hallway. The guards laughed. A grenade? That wouldn't even scratch their armor. But it wasn't a grenade. It was a magnetic pulse generator, something Jiho had made from spare ship parts. It detonated with a blue flash, and every electronic device within 10 meters died. The guards' weapons shut down. Their armor systems failed. Jiho charged while they were confused. He wasn't a soldier, but 6 months of fighting across the galaxy had taught him how to survive. He fought dirty, going for vulnerable spots using speed and surprise instead of strength. Within seconds, all 3 guards were down. He grabbed one of their weapons and kept running. Level 3, Section 9. He was close. Meanwhile, in the weapons storage area, Kira faced her own problems. 6 guards had her surrounded. They had energy weapons pointed at her from all sides. "Stand down, Liren," one guard ordered. "You're coming back to the cells." Kira's bioluminescent patterns flared bright and angry. No, never again. She moved like water, flowing between the guards faster than they could track. Her people weren't warriors, but her body was built for grace and speed. She used that now, turning their numbers against them. When one guard fired, she was already gone, and his shot hit his companion instead. She grabbed a weapon from a fallen guard and learned how to use it in seconds. Liren minds were quick, adaptable. She fired with precision, taking down guards with efficient shots. Within minutes, the storage room was hers. Rows of weapons lined the walls. Rifles, pistols, energy blades, even explosives. More than enough to arm an army. Kira started grabbing crates, preparing to move them to the stasis chambers. Her people would need these when they woke up. Jiho reached the control room and found it locked with heavy security. The door was reinforced metal designed to withstand attacks. He didn't have time to hack it properly, so he improvised. He pulled the power cells from the weapon he'd stolen and wired them together in a way that would make any engineer scream in horror. Then he attached them to the door's locking mechanism and ran. The explosion was smaller than he hoped, but effective. The door buckled and fell inward. Jiho rushed inside. The control room was empty. The operators had fled when the alarm started. Perfect. Jiho moved to the main console and entered the override code Vornis had given him. The screen lit up with options. Stasis pod controls, life support, security systems, power distribution. Everything he needed was here. He started with the stasis pods. There were 217 prisoners total. 173 Liren, 37 humans, and 7 others from various species. If he woke them all at once, the system would overload and some might die. He needed to do this carefully. Jiho divided them into groups. He would wake the strongest first, the ones most likely to fight. They could help protect the others as they revived. He programmed a sequence that would wake everyone over the next 20 minutes, starting with the Liren warriors. He hit execute and watched the screens. In the stasis chamber far below, pods began to glow. The fluid inside drained away. The first Liren female started to wake up. Kira felt rather than heard the change in the station's energy. She knew somehow that Jiho had done it. Her people were waking up. She grabbed as many weapons as she could carry and ran toward the stasis chambers. She arrived just as the first pods opened. Liren females stumbled out, weak and confused. They had been asleep for weeks, trapped in darkness. Now they were free but didn't understand what was happening. Kira spoke to them in their own language. "Sisters, listen to me. We are prisoners on a slave station, but we are being freed. I know you're weak. I know you're scared, but we must fight. Our people need us." One of the women looked at her with clearing eyes. "Who are you?" "My name is Kira. I was taken like you, but a human helped me escape. Now we're here to free all of us." "A human? They're helping us, one is. His name is Jiho. He's in the control room now, waking everyone. But the guards are coming. We have to defend this chamber until everyone is free." Kira handed out weapons to those strong enough to hold them. Most of the Liren had never fired a gun before, but they learned quickly. Fear and anger were powerful teachers. More pods opened. More Liren woke up. And then Kira saw the one she'd been searching for. Neva, her younger sister, stumbled out of her pod and fell to her knees. Kira ran to her and pulled her into a fierce hug. "Neva, you're alive." "Kira, is that really you?" Neva's voice was weak, but her eyes were clearing. "I thought I'd never see you again. I'm here, and we're getting out of this place." Neva saw the weapon in Kira's hand, saw the cold determination in her eyes. "What happened to you? They made me into what they needed. A fighter. Now I'm using it against them." The sound of running boots echoed in the hallway. The guards were coming. Kira stood and raised her weapon. Around her, freed Liren did the same. They were weak from stasis, scared, unprepared for war. but they were also survivors who had lost everything. They had nothing left to lose. When they come through that door, Kira said, we show them what happens when you hurt Lyran. The doors burst open. Guards poured in, weapons firing. But they weren't expecting organized resistance. They thought they'd find confused prisoners stumbling around. Instead, they found an army of angry Lyran females fighting for their freedom. The battle was chaos. Laser fire lit up the chamber. Stasis pods shattered under stray shots. But the Lyran held their ground. For everyone that fell, 2 more took their place. They fought with a desperate fury that shocked the guards. In the control room, Jiho watched the security feeds. He saw Kira and the Lyran fighting. He saw guards gathering for a major assault. He needed to even the odds. He accessed the station's environmental controls. With a few commands, he shut down gravity in the guard barracks. Hundreds of armed soldiers suddenly floated helpless in the air, unable to reach their weapons or their posts. He locked the doors to the armory so reinforcements couldn't get equipped. He rerouted power from non-essential systems to the medical bay, knowing they'd need it soon. Every trick he could think of, every advantage he could create, he used. But more guards were coming. The station had 500 total, and Jiho had only disabled maybe 200. The rest were converging on the stasis chambers. Jiho made a decision. He set the control systems to automatic and left the room. He had to get to Hana. She was in the human holding cells 1 level down. If he could wake her and the other humans, they'd have more fighters. He ran through corridors filled with floating, cursing guards. He reached the human cells and used his stolen access codes to open them. Prisoners stumbled out, confused and afraid. Listen to me, Jiho shouted in English, Korean, and 3 other languages. We're escaping. Right now. Anyone who can fight, follow me. Anyone who can't, head to the medical bay on level 2. Most people ran for the medical bay. But a few, the ones who still had fire in their eyes, stayed with Jiho. There were 12 of them total. Not many, but enough, and then Jiho saw her. Hana stepped out of her cell, moving like a sleepwalker. Her eyes were empty, just like on the security feed. The neural programming had broken something inside her. Jiho's heart cracked. He walked up to her and gently took her hands. Hana, it's me. It's Jiho, your brother. She looked at him with no recognition. I am programmed to serve. What are your orders? Tears filled Jiho's eyes, but he pushed them back. There would be time for grief later. Right now, he needed to save her and everyone else. Your orders are to remember who you are. Your name is Hana. You love plants and gardens. You laugh at bad jokes. You're my sister, and I love you. Remember, Hana, please remember. For a moment, nothing happened. Then something flickered in her eyes. A spark of recognition. A fragment of memory, Jiho, she whispered. Where are we? Somewhere bad. But we're leaving. Can you walk? I think so. My head hurts. I can't remember things clearly. It's okay. We'll fix it. I promise. Jiho gave weapons to the humans who could fight and led them toward the stasis chambers. They had to link up with Kira and the Lyran. Together, they might have a chance. They fought through 3 groups of guards on the way. The humans fought with a grim determination that impressed even Jiho. These people had been tortured and broken, but they found strength when it mattered most. That was humanity's gift. They endured. Finally, they reached the stasis chambers. The battle there had reached a stalemate. The Lyran controlled the room, but guards had them surrounded, firing from the corridors. It was only a matter of time before the defenders ran out of ammunition. Jiho and his group hit the guards from behind. The sudden attack broke their formation. Caught between 2 forces, the guards retreated. Jiho ran into the chamber and found Kira. She was covered. The defenders had 20 minutes to prepare. 20 minutes before 200 heavily armed guards would come to kill them all. Jiho used every second. He organized the freed prisoners into groups. The Lyran who could fight formed the front line. They were natural athletes, fast and graceful even after weeks in stasis. He put them at the main entrances where speed would matter most. The humans formed the second line. There were 47 of them now, as more had been freed from other cells. Humans weren't as fast as Lyran, but they were stubborn. They would hold ground when others would retreat. Jiho positioned them at the narrow corridors where determination mattered more than speed. The other species, 7 in total, went to supporting roles. Some had technical skills and worked on reinforcing doors. Others had medical knowledge and set up a field hospital in the back of the chamber. Kira moved through the Lyran fighters, speaking in their language, giving them courage. Many of them had never held a weapon before this day. They were artists, farmers, teachers, but they learned fast. Fear was a harsh but effective teacher. Neva stayed close to her sister. Kira, we can't win this. There are too many of them. Maybe. But we can make them pay for every step. And maybe if we're lucky, we can survive long enough for help to arrive. What help? Nobody knows we're here. Kira glanced at Jiho, who was rigging explosive traps in the hallways. Trust the human. He's gotten us this far. Jiho finished setting the last trap and returned to the main chamber. Hana sat against a wall, holding her head. The neural programming was breaking down, but the process was painful. Memories were coming back in fragments, confusing and overwhelming. He knelt beside her. How are you doing? I remember things. You teaching me to ride a bike. Mom's cooking. The garden I planted at the colony. But it all feels distant, like I'm watching someone else's life. It's your life. They tried to take it from you, but you're getting it back. You're strong, Hana. I don't feel strong. I feel broken. Broken things can be fixed. I promise you, when this is over, we'll find a way to fix what they did to you. An explosion rocked the station. The guards had started their assault. Jiho kissed his sister's forehead and stood. Stay here. Stay safe. He ran to the front line where the first wave of guards was advancing. They came in tight formation, shields raised, weapons firing in coordinated bursts. Professional soldiers who had done this many times before, but they had never fought desperate people with nothing to lose. Jiho's first trap went off, a shaped charge that brought down a section of ceiling. 3 guards went down under the rubble. The others kept advancing, stepping over their fallen comrades without hesitation. The Lyran opened fire. Their aim wasn't great, but there were enough of them that it didn't matter. A wall of laser fire forced the guards to take cover. For a moment, the advance stopped. Now, Jiho shouted. A group of Lyran rushed forward with melee weapons, energy blades that Kira had found in the armory. They moved so fast the guards couldn't track them all. In close combat, the Lyran's speed was devastating. Guards fell, their armor cut through like paper, but more guards came. They learned from the first wave's mistakes and stayed at range, using their superior firepower. The Lyran were forced to retreat back to the main chamber. Second line forward. Jiho called. The humans moved up. Unlike the Lyran, they advanced slowly and carefully, using cover, watching each other's backs. Years of human military history had taught them how to fight as a unit. They might not be as fast as Lyran or as well equipped as the guards, but they knew how to survive. The guards tried the same tactics they'd used against the Lyran. Overwhelming firepower, coordinated advance. But the humans didn't break. They fell back step by step, making the guards pay for every meter. When one human fell wounded, 2 others pulled them back while the rest covered the retreat. Jiho fought alongside them. He wasn't a soldier, but he had spent 6 months in constant danger. He had learned how to read a battle, how to find weak points in an enemy formation. He called out targets, coordinated movements, turned chaos into something resembling tactics. Hours passed. The battle turned into a grinding nightmare. The defenders lost ground slowly. They ran low on ammunition and started using captured weapons. The wounded piled up in the medical area. Exhaustion set in, but they held. The guards hadn't expected this level of resistance. They had fought escaped prisoners before. Usually those prisoners panicked and scattered within minutes. These prisoners fought like soldiers defending their home. In the command center of the station, Overseer Dravis watched the security feeds with growing rage. He was the head of the Telvec crime family's operations here. This station represented years of work and billions in credits, and it was all falling apart because of one human and one Lyran. He made a decision. If he couldn't have the station and the prisoners, nobody would. He entered a command code into the main computer. The station's self-destruct sequence activated. 30 minutes until detonation. Alarms of a different kind started blaring. Jiho heard them and his blood ran cold. He knew that sound from his time in the merchant fleet. That was a self-destruct warning. They're blowing the station, he said to Kira. We have 30 minutes. Kira's patterns flared with panic. Can you stop it? No, the command center is too far away and too heavily defended. We'd never make it in time. Then what do we do? Jiho's mind raced. 30 minutes. 200 people to evacuate. Guards still attacking. It was impossible. But impossible just meant he had to think differently. The docking bays, he said. We take ships and run. There are guards at every bay, then we go through them. It's the only way. Jiho gathered everyone who could still fight. Listen up. The station is going to explode in 30 minutes. We need to get to the docking bays and steal ships. It's going to be a running battle. Stick together, protect the wounded, and don't stop for anything. One of the humans, a man named Doyen, spoke up. What about the guards between us and the bays? We go through them. Fast and hard. They're not expecting a full charge. We use that. A Lyran woman named Sura asked, how do we know which ships to take? Any ship? All of them. We grab everything that can fly and get out of here. Kira stepped forward. I'll lead the Lyran, we're the fastest. We hit the guards first and break their lines. Jiho, you bring the humans behind us and secure the ships. Jiho nodded. Good plan. Everyone, this is it. This is where we live or die. Make it count. They moved as one group, a mixed force of species united by desperation. The Lyran ran ahead, their glowing patterns lighting the corridors like war paint. The humans followed, weapons ready, protecting those too weak to fight. Guards tried to stop them. The defenders smashed through them like a wave. There was no strategy now, no careful tactics. Just raw momentum and will to survive. They lost people. A Lyran woman named Hira fell to a guard's shot and didn't get up. Two humans, Minho and Yuri, stayed behind to hold a corridor while others escaped. They knew they wouldn't survive, but they bought precious seconds for their friends. Jiho felt each loss like a knife to the heart. But he kept moving forward. If he stopped, everyone would die. So he ran, he fought, he led. They reached the docking bay with 12 minutes to spare. Dozens of ships sat ready to launch. Small personal craft, medium cargo haulers, even a few luxury yachts. More than enough for everyone. But the bay was full of guards. At least 50 of them in full combat armor positioned behind barriers. There's no way through, Doyen said. Then we make a way, Jiho replied. He grabbed every explosive device they had left. Kira, when I blow those barriers, you charge. Don't stop for anything. Get people on ships and launch. What about you? I'll be right behind you. Kira looked into his eyes and saw the lie. But she also saw the determination. He was going to do this whether she agreed or not. You better survive, human, she said. Jiho, my name is Jiho, and I will. He ran forward, throwing explosives as he went. The barriers exploded in sequence, creating a path through the guards' defenses. The Lyran charged through the opening with Kira leading them. Jiho and the remaining humans followed, laying down covering fire. The guards fought back desperately. The bay turned into a war zone. Ships began to launch. The freed prisoners piled into any craft they could reach. Pilots who knew how to fly took the controls. Those who didn't just figured it out. Humans were good at learning fast under pressure. Jiho saw Hana being helped onto a cargo ship by Neva. Good. They would be safe together. He kept fighting, making sure every prisoner got aboard a ship. Kira grabbed the last group of Lyran and pushed them toward the final ship. Go, all of you, go! What about you? Sura asked. I'm making sure everyone gets out. Now move! The Lyran reluctantly boarded. Only Jiho and Kira remained in the bay, along with a handful of guards who were still fighting. The countdown reached 5 minutes. That's everyone, Kira said. Time to go. They ran for the last ship, the Taeguk's Hope, but a guard stepped out from behind cover and fired. The shot hit Jiho in the leg and he went down hard. Kira turned back immediately. No, go! Jiho shouted. Get on the ship and launch! Not without you. She ran back and grabbed him, pulling him up. He was heavy and his leg was bleeding badly, but she was Lyran. She was strong enough. They made it to the ship together, stumbling up the ramp as more shots hit the hull around them. The 2 weeks had passed since the destruction of the Crimson Nebula station. The fleet of freed prisoners had scattered across several systems, hiding from potential retaliation. But today they were gathering again at coordinates Jiho had sent out, a meeting point in neutral space. Jiho stood on the bridge of the Taeguk's Hope, his leg still wrapped in bandages but healing well. Around his ship, dozens of other vessels appeared one by one, cargo haulers, personal craft, even a luxury yacht. Each one carried people who had been merchandise and were now free. Beside him, Kira watched the ships arrive with glowing patterns of hope. They all came. They want to know what happens next, Jiho said. They're looking for direction. Then you better have something to tell them. Jiho had been thinking about this for 2 weeks. What came after freedom? Where did they all go? Many had no homes to return to. Others, like Hana and the Lyran, had homes that were destroyed or lost. He opened a communication channel to all the ships. Thank you for coming. I know you're all wondering what we do now. Some of you want to go home. Some of you have no home left. Some of you want revenge on those who hurt you. Faces appeared on his screen. Humans, Lyran, and others all listening intently. I can't tell you what to do with your freedom, Jiho continued. That's your choice. But I can tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going after every slave market, every crime syndicate, every operation like Crimson Nebula. I'm going to free everyone I can find. And I'm asking if anyone wants to join me. The communication channel exploded with voices. People talking over each other, asking questions, making suggestions. Jiho waited for the noise to die down. Doyun, the human who had fought beside him, spoke first. I'll join you. They took 3 years of my life. I want to make sure nobody else loses theirs. Sura, the Lyran warrior, nodded. My people need justice. I will fight for it, more voices joined in. Humans who wanted revenge. Lyran who wanted to rebuild their species. Others who simply couldn't sit by while the slave trade continued. Within minutes, over half the fleet had committed to the cause. We need a name, Kira said. If we're going to be an organization, we need something people can rally behind. Jiho thought about it. They were freed prisoners from dozens of worlds united by a common goal. They were stars that had been held in darkness and were now shining again. The Free Star Alliance, he said. We're free and we're going to make sure others are too. The name was met with approval. The Free Star Alliance. It had a good sound to it. Over the next few days, the alliance organized itself. They divided into 3 groups. The first would search for lost prisoners and gather intelligence on slave operations. The second would handle rescue missions. The third would work on finding safe havens for freed people and dealing with the aftermath of rescues. Jiho took command of the rescue division. Kira volunteered to lead the Lyran warriors, who would form the core of their fighting force. Doyun offered to organize the humans, using his knowledge from his time in a colonial defense force. But there was still unfinished business. The neural programming that had been done to many prisoners needed to be reversed. Hana and dozens of others still struggled with fragmented memories and implanted commands. Kira brought hope on this front. My people have knowledge of neural healing. It's an old practice passed down for generations. Before we were taken, some of our elders taught me the basics. I think I can help. She started with Hana, working with her every day. The process was slow and sometimes painful. Kira would guide Hana through meditation techniques, helping her mind separate real memories from false ones. Bit by bit, Hana began to recover. I remember the garden now, Hana said one day, tears in her eyes. I remember planting flowers with Mom. I remember teaching you about different plants, how some could heal and others could hurt. It's really my memory, not something they put in my head. Jiho hugged his sister tightly. You're coming back to us. Thanks to Kira, she saved me just as much as you did. Over the following weeks, Kira worked with other victims of neural programming. Not all of them recovered fully, but most got better. The Lyran healing techniques, combined with medical treatment, proved effective. Hope returned to eyes that had been empty. Meanwhile, intelligence started coming in. The destruction of Crimson Nebula had sent shockwaves through the criminal underworld. Other stations had increased security, but they were also nervous. The Free Star Alliance had proven that even the most secure slave operation could be destroyed. Jiho studied the reports. There were at least 15 major slave markets operating in known space, plus countless smaller operations. The work ahead was enormous, but he was committed. One night, Kira found him in the observation deck staring at the stars. She sat beside him. You should rest, she said. Your leg needs more time to heal, I know. I just keep thinking about all the people still out there, in cells, in stasis, being hurt. We can't save everyone at once. We do what we can, one mission at a time. Jiho nodded. I know, but it's hard. They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Over the past weeks, their partnership had deepened into real friendship. They understood each other in ways that didn't require words. I found information about Lyra 7, Kira said quietly. The slavers didn't destroy it completely. They just took the people. The cities are still there, empty but standing. You want to go back, eventually, when this is over. I want to rebuild, bring my people home, make our world live again. It will take years, maybe decades. I have time. We Lyran live longer than humans. I can wait, Jiho smiled. When you do rebuild, I'd like to visit. See these beautiful cities you talk about? You'll always be welcome. You freed my people. That makes you family. The Freestar Alliance's first real mission came a month after their formation. Intelligence had located a slave market on a station called Helios Gate. It was smaller than Crimson Nebula but still held over 100 prisoners. Jiho planned the operation carefully. They had learned from the last raid. This time they went in with 3 ships and 60 fighters. The assault was quick and precise. They hit the station's defenses hard and fast, freed the prisoners, and escaped before reinforcements could arrive. The mission was a success. 107 people freed, including 42 children. Only 3 casualties on their side, and all of them survived their injuries. News of the raid spread across the galaxy. The Freestar Alliance was becoming known. Some called them pirates. Others called them heroes. The criminal syndicates called them a threat and put bounties on their heads. Jiho didn't care about any of that. He cared about the faces of freed prisoners, the joy in their eyes when they realized they were safe. The alliance continued to grow. More people joined, bringing ships and skills and resources. They established hidden bases in neutral systems. They built networks of allies and informants. They became an organization that struck fear into the hearts of slavers everywhere. 6 months after Crimson Nebula, Jiho and Kira stood together on the bridge of a new ship, larger than the Taiguk's Hope. It had been donated by a wealthy businessman whose daughter they had rescued from Helios Gate. The ship was called the Liberator, and it served as the Alliance's flagship. Below them, a fleet of 20 ships prepared for their next mission. 20 ships, 600 people, all dedicated to fighting the slave trade. They had come so far from that desperate escape in the Red Nebula. Do you remember when it was just us? Kira asked. Running from Valos Prime in your little ship? I remember thinking we would probably die, Jiho admitted. I remember being terrified but too stubborn to quit. Look at us now. We started a movement. Change the galaxy. We're not done yet. There are still thousands of people in chains. I know, but we'll free them. One station at a time, one person at a time, until there's no one left to save. Hana entered the bridge, fully recovered now. She had decided to join the Alliance as their xenobotanist, using her knowledge of plants to help develop medicines and food supplies for their growing operation. We're ready to launch, she said. Everyone's asking for final words before we go. Jiho opened the fleet-wide channel. Hundreds of faces looked at him waiting for his speech. But he kept it simple. We all know why we're here. We all know what we're fighting for. Freedom isn't something you're given. It's something you take and defend. Today we take it for others. Let's go remind the galaxy that every person, no matter what species, no matter where they're from, deserves to be free. Freestar Alliance, move out. The fleet jumped to faster-than-light travel, disappearing into the stars. They were heading toward another slave station. Another fight, another chance to save lives. Kira stood beside Jiho, watching the stars stretch into lines. You know what the best part is? What? You're not alone anymore. None of us are. We have each other. We have a family forged in fire. Jiho thought about all the people on these ships, humans who had lost everything. Lyran who were rebuilding their species. Others from species he'd never heard of before, all working together. She was right. This was family now. In the back of the Liberator, Neva worked in the medical bay, preparing for the wounded they would inevitably bring back. She had trained as a healer,